Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg. Joining me, as always, as the political junkies, led by William Beck, Mr. Straight-Laced himself. How you doing there, William?
Thank you. I guess I'm the leader today.
Today, not every day, but
Not
today
every
you
day,
are.
but apparently today.
And
I'll also be reading your comments.
yes, because Bridget's feeling a little under the weather. We hope she gets better. So William will be communicating with you live. He'll have that laptop on there. I should have Jesse doing it because you're actually more of the material today, at least for the starting part of this conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Mega Jesse, as usual, with a, let's see, you went the old retro-looking Donald Trump hat there?
Oh, yeah. Yep, good to be here. And, yeah, we got a lot to expose. There's, this is stuff that you really can't get anywhere else. There's nobody else breaking this kind of stuff down, so I'm excited to get into it.
And we only know this stuff because we have Deep State Dawson himself working for us, running the dials back there, sipping on some Pepsi. Coke Zero, what is that? Coke Zero?
Yeah, Coke Zero.
There you go. I think you've kind of cut back on your Coke Zeros there, William.
You think so?
I don't know. There's a lot more in the fridge these days. He's addicted to diet caffeine
I
drinks.
am.
As most people his age are, it seems to be.
Oh, hey, Jake, is it too late to get Bridget on? A Bad Hat Harry's taken off because she's not here.
Well, I know she'd probably watching, but, honestly, if she's not feeling well.
Tucker says, I came for MAGA Jesse. I stayed for Bridget.
There you go.
That's a good
See,
one.
I'm glad that she's finally getting some fans. I think when we had her in Dawson's control room, it was like she was hidden. So now we got her out in the studio. Yes, truly, you won't find this information anywhere else. We're going to talk about a scheme to get rid of political opponents, and we are the target. I was thinking about this morning, guys. I don't know if anyone in the state of Minnesota has been a target by both Democrats and Republicans using the campaign finance board. Do you think anyone has? Do you think like a third party could be? But has there been a third party, at least not in the last 2 decades, that really has caused enough pain for those parties where they actually went after them?
Right, yeah, the Democrats are after the legal marijuana now party a little bit, but not really the
Well,
Republicans.
not
I
with the
can't think
campaign
of
finance board.
Right, yeah. Well, they were complaining about some of the donations and whatnot before to one of their candidates, but
the
yeah,
Republicans
not a
weren't.
complaint. Right.
Yeah, but the Republicans weren't.
Right.
So we might be the only one that's had campaign finance complaints launched against us by both the Democrats and the Republicans. Now, when you look at the record, there's been 4 total now, 2 that we beat, 2 that are still ongoing, which is so ridiculous. 3 of them came from Republicans, 1 from Democrats. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And the current 2 ones are Republican insiders. And we're going to tell you exactly the names behind this. You won't hear this anywhere else. And quite frankly, I probably shouldn't be saying this stuff. I should probably not talk about a pending case, right? They always say I've been advised by my lawyers not to talk about the case. But I think it's more important that you know how corrupt these people are and how a government agency with your tax money is being used to harm totally innocent people like us completely. And I don't think that I don't know how they could find us guilty of anything, honest to God, because there's no evidence. And I'm going to get into this. It's just the process is the pain. It's legal fees. It's us having to provide information. Maybe they even I don't know, they can fine you, okay? Who knows where it could go? But they have the ability to eventually refer to a prosecutor. They have the ability to have massive fines. That's the ability these guys have. Once again, completely innocent, so I don't know how we get to that point. It's the process is the pain, and it's all brought on, in this case, by Republican insiders. And in this specific case, what we're going to be talking about today is they call it the Senate Victory Fund. They lack victory, though.
Yeah, right.
So let's take a step back
Sure.
for a second, because do people know what the campaign finance board is? And, are they a legal entity? What purpose do they serve?
So obviously there's a lot of campaign finance laws. Like if you're a candidate, you got to register with a government agency to show your books, basically who's donating and what your expenditures are. And if you're a third party, like you're doing expenditures with, say, vote for this person, vote against this person, you have to register with the committee. We are not registered. This is important. I'm glad you brought that up. We're not registered with the Campaign Finance Board. There is an Action for Liberty PAC, but that's not us. It's not. It's some people that associate with us, but it's not the legal entity Action for Liberty. We're not even registered with these people. We don't submit to their authority, but yet they have drawn us into now 2 complaints. So great point. Who are these people? there's the staff, and then there's the actual board. They call it the campaign finance board, like the staff and the board, but really there's a board that's highly politicized. And I'll tell you how it works. The governor appoints those board members. I think they get confirmed by the legislature. So the governor, Tim Walz, remember Tim Walz, the guy that we don't like, the guy that we've talked out. I mean, we like the biggest foe to Tim Walz, right? He's the one that appoints these people. Now, he's got to appoint people on the left and people on the right. He's got to appoint Democrats and Republicans. But just think about this. You watch the Truth Hurts. That's why I call it the Truth Hurts. Because we're not just telling you the Democrats are all bad and the Republicans good guys. Yay, go Republicans. We tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth is Republicans are really bad too, right? In fact, in a lot of cases, they're really bad. Now, there's some good heroes on the Republican side. Don't get me wrong. I don't know those on the Democrat side. Maybe RFK is doing some good justice now on the Democrat side. Some justice, okay? But there's not good people on the left. It's getting worse and worse every year. You know that. We've obviously talked at great length about that on the show. So they appoint people on the Democrat-Republican side. They're not appointing Tea Party Republicans. They're not appointing Action for Liberty style Republicans. They're appointing the cronies. They're appointing our enemies on the right to that board. So imagine the judge, jury, and executioner are all politicized people that hate us. So this is a great scheme. So let's go right into the scheme. This is how it works. Pull up the first graphic, Dawson. And what needs to happen is there's some mastermind behind this thing. And we've had, 4 complaints over the years. One was in 2016. That one was dismissed, or they found no violation, I should say. Number 2 was the Democrats in 2021. That one, they didn't even get to the investigation because it lacked good evidence. The last 2, which are by Republican establishment, have gotten to a higher level, and that's where it's like, oh, man, the CFB is really taking a turn for the worse. Because they used to be a real good professional organization, the shots are called by the board, so I don't want to undermine the staff there. The board is the ones that are making the call. Okay,
right, and this should be a nonpartisan government entity that just treats people fairly. That's what the CFB should be, the Campaign Finance Board. But like you're saying, it's corrupt cronies, from the Republicans and Democrats that are appointed to serve on this board, really to serve the interests of the party establishment. So it's really interesting how it all works. But yeah, you're right that it's Governor Walz who gets to determine who a lot of these people are, and nobody that Governor Walz is appointing is going to benefit the people.
And just think about this. It's like the FBI, same thing. FBI should be impartial, nonpartisan.
Yeah.
We know how that's going right now, right? The Department of Justice, even though it's a political appointee at the top, that should be nonpartisan. They should be going, but they're not going after everybody. Let's be honest. They didn't pursue Hillary Clinton's clear violation of the law on classified information. So here's the corrupt scheme, all right? First of all, there's some intel gathering that happens. So whoever's behind this, whoever wants to cause pain for groups like Action for Liberty, and I don't know any other group that's, with such great innocence over time been targeted in this manner than us. I mean, there are people that end up getting fined. We've never been fined by these guys, but that have caused maybe minor things. But I think we're the only. I don't know all the cases out there, but I think we're probably up there as the one that gets the scheme gets used against the most. Certainly,
that
right
means
now.
That we do. That means that we're doing something right.
That's 100. Thank
like
you
we're
for
pissing
bringing
off
that
the
up.
left and the right, and we're effective. That's why they keep coming after us.
Great point, William. You make lots of great points.
I know I do.
Very, very good point. Why would they do this? Because obviously, we have caused some pain. Actually, let's take down the graphic. I want to expand on this point real quick. Let's be honest about what's going on here. In 2020 and 2021, Action for Liberty grew exponentially, right? We existed before then, but we grew exponentially because you didn't like the lockdowns. You didn't like these mandates on vaccines. You didn't like what was going on. You hated these corrupt politicians. You signed a petition. You joined us online. You went to the state fair. You saw us. You wanted to be a part of the process to solve the political problem. And we were there and teaching you how to do it. We trained thousands of people to become delegates to go to the caucus in 2022. That's when the pain started for the establishment. And that's why we're getting attacked by the Republicans. Because what they want is they want a monopoly on the whole party. You got to understand this. Democrats are so corrupt. They are so corrupt. It's do as I say, not as I preach. It's all done by the top. at least in the Republican Party, a guy like Trump, who's hated by the establishment, could still win. But don't think for a second there aren't forces that are doing the exact same thing to the Republican Party that's being done to the Democrat Party. At least there's a little bit of grassroots contingent. And it was so big that you guys that went and became delegates ended up being like 40 to 50% of the delegation at the state convention. In fact, there was a poll. They said how many people had never attended a state convention before. It was like first-time delegate. It was 55%.
Yep.
So look at all these new grassroots conservative activists that got involved in 2022, and a large part due to us teaching people how to do it, training in person. We had a video out there, all that stuff, getting involved in the process. And from that, great candidates emerged, right? Great candidates like Tom DePaul, who we're going to talk about today. They emerged and they ran for office. What a wonderful, beautiful thing. But guess what? The establishment, they can't have that because they got their chosen candidates, the guys that will toe the line and say yes when they want to grow government. So let's go back to this graphic. This is how the scheme works. All right. So somebody's behind this thing and they're doing some intel gathering. They're learning about the process. They're finding out what did these guys do that was wrong. It's anything that can even be construed as a possible violation. All right, they'll even try entrapping. I don't want to get into the details of that, but there's clear evidence that they've actually tried entrapping people, getting them to say stuff. So that is what they do in the intel gathering stage, right? Because as an organization, you're doing lots of different things, and quite frankly, there could be a perception that you're doing one thing, even though it's completely untrue. And in many cases, in politics, you want those deceptions, right? Right? It makes sense to have a deception. So your enemy, your opponents, your enemy, whatever you want to call it, think you're doing something, or you're stronger, or you're weaker, whatever it is. There's a good reason for deception in this game. All right. So the second thing they do then, they recruit a complainant. And what they're doing is they're finding some low-level, no-name activists that they can dupe into putting their name on the CFB complaint. Now they're promising them something. Maybe it's monetarily. They're promising something. Maybe it's just a seat at the table. They get this feeling they're doing something good. Or they completely con them into thinking, oh yeah, Action for Liberty, they're really bad people. Even though if we sat down with these people, they'd be like, oh my God, you guys do really good work. But that's their narrative. It's like, oh, these guys are really bad people. They're going against, I love that. They always say, they're against the good conservative candidates. Like, we're not against good conservative candidates. Why would we be against good conservative people? Like, no,
Right.
We're going against cronies, people that say they are conservative, but they're not. So then what they do is they hire a crony law firm. And this is a law firm that does the research of the laws. They draft a long letter citing the laws because they're issuing this to the CFB, which is full of lawyers. So they're trying to do the lawyer speak. Because if just this random low-level activist did it, it wouldn't make any sense and it wouldn't be tied together. So they got a law firm that knows the laws, knows how to write this thing, and then they issue it. And they're always like 10 pages long with exhibits and stuff like that. It's really elaborate. And then they file with the Campaign Finance Board, and they determine when the best time to file is to cause the most amount of pain. And then once they do that, the hope and who knows how much the people behind this control this. This would be all just me speculating that they control and the part past the filing. And if it is, it's really, really corrupt. But eventually it gets handed over to the board. And the board has showed lately, this very highly politicized board, that they will investigate and basically do a witch hunt. They go way beyond the scope. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then we, the good guys, have to expend resources on legal fees. We do trade secrets. Who knows what they would think we're going to do. They might think we just quit politics. Boy, that'd be a big win for them. Maybe something sticks and we get fined or we get put into jail, because there's a criminal component that they allege is in this case. What they're alleging here, and I'll get into that, is an illegal corporate contribution, which has a criminal code to it. So, and trust me, there are people that would want me in jail, and I'm not talking about Lee Finke and the Democrats. I'm talking about Republicans want me in jail. Take me away from my children, my wife, and throw me in jail for what? Exposing how corrupt and bad they are at voting. Exercising my free speech, the best pastime in American politics, and they would want me in jail because they want us off the table. Because, like I said, they want a monopoly.
And the Campaign Finance Board isn't like a normal court, like where you have the presumption of innocence. You go into this assuming that you're guilty, which is crazy.
It is crazy, yeah. And
And it shouldn't be legal either.
Yes, but of course, who's writing the laws? The people that like this process,
Right.
right? All right. Do you have any comments? You keep looking
Yeah.
like you got some comments. Let me clear. Let's
Well,
get
you're
rid of the,
talking, so I'm
let's
looking
get rid of
at
the graphic. I'm going to bring back and I'm going to name names here and show you who's behind these steps. Let's clear the comments first.
Yeah, we got a lot of people in the comments. Bad Hat Harry says that's what's going on with President Trump. Very true. We got a
Great
witch
point,
hunt.
Bad Hat Harry. 100%. It's the exact same thing. In the case of Trump, they gather into the one that's really interesting is the New York one. 20. So he's under a campaign finance violation. That's what's at the center of that case in New York. A 2016 campaign finance violation, which the FEC, which is like the federal part, like the CFP is the state version of the FEC. And they said there's no violation here. So what they do is they then find some criminal code. In fact, I think it passed in the state legislature. So they passed something where they can go back and they can look at a different thing, a business, basically cooking the books on the business that related to the campaign.
Yep.
And so now a prosecutor, an angry prosecutor, so they don't even need to hire a law firm in that case. They just have a prosecutor that knows the law, and then they basically arrest and book Donald Trump. And then, of course, here comes – and in the case of Donald Trump, it's the process is the pain, right? Maybe they actually put Donald Trump in Rikers, which is crazy, and he might actually still get elected. I mean, if they throw him in Trump in prison, he might still get elected. But the process is the pain. And that's a great point that you made because we just learned the trial for Donald Trump in the case in New York City is going to happen in March. Right in the heart, like Super Tuesday in the heart of the primary. In March, they want to take Donald Trump off the table and negative news after negative news right in the heart of the primary.
Tucker91 says camera needs to be zoomed out a little. I don't know what he's referring to there because it looks fine.
I'm going to choose to disregard that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Tucker, the boss said
I respect you, Tucker, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't
clarify
either.
there.
It looks fine. Yeah, clarify maybe. And let's see here. Liberty Guy 1 says, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win.
That's right, 100%. There's a steps to this thing, right? So right now they're at the step where they're creating political pain. Eventually, if you just stay into this game, they have to listen to you. Obviously, if we were not doing anything of relevance, if we were not effective, why would they waste their time and energy? I'm going to get into how much possibly was spent on this. So obviously they have to expend energy. So let's get into the names here, okay? Let's
Right
bring up
after
some
we
names.
finish some of these comments. Brad Cancer says...
How dare you? Well, if you're just going to zoom out, I'm like, well,
I'm just,
what
I
is
thought it
Brad
was
Ganser?
important to
Brad
mention.
Ganser knows this process very well.
The CFB is one of the many tools used by the grifter class.
Yep, there you go. Right on.
Monica says there are a bunch of appointed crooks just like the Met Council. And then Tucker's clarifying his comment. He says trinkets are cut off, or maybe they just need to be set back a little.
Like on my
I think he's
table?
talking about
Yeah.
like the things on the shelf there.
Yeah, don't worry
maybe.
about that. We need the content. But thanks. I appreciate you looking at our set. I do appreciate that, Tucker. All right, let's go to the next graphic here. And this is the names in the process. Okay, so if we look at this, the 4 steps to get it to it, let's actually go into the names of the people.
And there's like no real repercussions to filing a false claim.
100%.
It's
100%.
pretty crazy.
In this case, somebody lied.
Yeah,
Yep.
of
Right?
course.
Yep.
Okay, so Mike Campbell, this is the guy that's behind it, okay? He works for the Senate Victory Fund. Now, when I say Senate Victory Fund, this is funny. That is the organization that represents Minnesota Senate Republicans, okay? So they have a political party unit. That's what their fund's called. It has to be registered with the CFB. So they call it the Senate Victory Fund. They actually on their expenditure have expenditure last November for victory dinner.
Wow.
They lost the freaking Senate.
Yeah.
Well, and the whole point of it, they're supposed to be electing the endorsed Republican candidates, right? They're supposed to be electing
Well,
Republicans.
I'd say number one is to win the Senate, which they failed at.
Yep.
And I would allege they failed at it because of this bullshit that we're going to expose.
Right.
So number one, Mike Campbell, bad guy. I'm going to explain who that guy is. All right, bad guy behind this thing. Mike Campbell's got a beef with us, tied to establishment, wants to see us gone, right? And this allegation is also made against Tom DePel, a great person, a candidate that they should have been supporting, and from day one they were hostile and against that guy. So they find somebody, in this case, Marissa Manteuffel. How do you say her name?
Something like that.
You actually ran into, you know this person. I've never met her before. Lied on a document, and that was the one sole piece of evidence. It's at very least hearsay, at worst case a lie.
I think we need to step back again because
I'm going to get to it. Don't worry about it. I'll talk about what the case is.
Don't you want to talk about the case and then go through the process of how the case
No, I don't
was?
want to do it that way. Jeez, William. Taking me off my game here.
I'm just thinking from their perspective. If you guys are confused, you can tell us in the comments.
No, don't tell us in the comments. Don't leave the jeez. Well, this is the William Beck show. I'm just here for the ride. Actually, it's Dawson's show. He's saying, no, Tucker, I'm going to ignore you.
That's true.
I'll listen to you, Tucker. All right. So anyhow, Marissa Manteuffel, I've never met this woman, but she was a staffer for the Senate Victory Fund, said that she heard something being said. I think she probably lied because I don't think it was said. Maybe she misheard. But anyhow, there's a single piece of evidence is hearsay. I'll get into that in a second. Then they had to recruit a complaint. They found this guy named Matt Worden. Now, we have another campaign finance complaint from a year ago that's finally going to be determined. We've been under this investigation for a year. It's ridiculous. And that guy is the same guy as the one on this, Matt Worden. So apparently he's this guy, and from what I understand, in his 60s, lives, living in Winona, doesn't have much going on in his life. And they probably duped him into signing this to make him feel like he's cool and part of the process. And, big, bad Action for Liberty. So Mike Campbell goes and recruits this guy. Sad. Very sad. Taking advantage of a guy that probably is just a decent dude that's scraping by. All right? Mm-hmm. So Matt Warden's the official person on our complaint. If you ever see it on the CFB, it's Warden complaint against Action for Liberty, Tom DePel. Okay? Then what they do is they find a law firm, because they need to have this thing very carefully crafted. And that's the Jacobson Law Group, okay? And they are hired to do hired, I put in quotation. I'll never be able to prove it because I can't see the invoices, right? It's client lawyer confidentiality.
Attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll never know officially, but I'll show you how much money the Senate Victory Fund took and gave to these guys. Okay?
That they didn't spend on electing Republican candidates.
Great point, William, that they didn't spend electing Republicans to win back the Senate. And then eventually what they do is they filed with the CFB, in this case, in this newest one, on April 11th. Now, that's important because the violation, as they said, occurred back in June of 2022.
Allegedly occurred.
Yes, sorry, allegedly, yes. That's what they think happened. Okay, so what is the complaint about? They say it's an illegal corporate contribution where William Beck, as you guys know him on this set, you probably didn't. Well, we didn't have this show back last June of last year, and of course, if we did have this show, you wouldn't see William Beck because he didn't work here, right?
Right.
But anyhow, they allege that William Beck was paid by us to give free services to the Tom DePel campaign, which they say is an illegal corporate contribution. Totally innocent of that charge. Did not happen. But Marissa Manteuffel says, I heard William say that. That's their single piece of evidence. So what do we tell the CFB? Well, William Beck says, I didn't do that. Signs an affidavit under penalty of perjury that he didn't do that. So their evidence is hearsay. There's evidence refuting it. Guess what they do? Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Matt Worden, once again, recruited. Jacobson Law Firm is the one that puts together the packet, submits it to the CFB on April 11th. Now,
hold on a second. So the reason that this affidavit was signed back in June of 2022 is because they threatened to use it against Tom DePel in the primary.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about that, and maybe this is a good time to talk about it, just to show you how crony these guys are. And you were intimate with this because you worked with Tom DePel at the time. Mm-hmm. They went to Tom DePel. Now, Tom DePel is the endorsed Republican candidate. All right? So he's an endorsed Republican candidate. And they say, Tom, there's a campaign finance violation you have done because of working with William Beck, and you need to drop out of this race. They threaten him and try to get him to drop out of the race.
Yep.
Right? Meanwhile, they're actually recruiting behind the scenes Rhino Carnhousley, person that was hobnobbing with other legislators when the vote for the transgender surgery was going down in Minnesota. She was in Detroit, Michigan, not here. She's just a huge Rhino. Very bad vote. Meanwhile, while this has happened, she recruits Tony Jurgens to run for office. She even admitted that to, well, I won't reveal my sources, but she'll know if she watches this. She admitted to doing that. So she recruited Rhino Tony Jurgens, the guy that Tom DePel won or beat in the endorsement. And he beat him by like a lot. It was like, 40, 50 points he beat him by in the endorsement, meaning the delegates really wanted Tom DePel. So she recruits Rhino Tony Jurgens, who was one of the worst voting Republicans in the Minnesota House, to run against him in the primary. All right. So meanwhile, they're trying to get Tom DePel out of the race, and Tony Jurgens is the one candidate. And Tom's like, well, I'm not going to drop out of the race. I didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. We're going to run. So they held on to this evidence. They held on to this thing since June of 2022. Now, you know I think you guys remember the rest of the story, but it's important to repeat this. Jurgens challenges DePel in the primary, which they supported Tony Jurgens, and we'll get into that a little later. The race, Tom DePel wins by 20 points on primary night and ends up losing to the Democrat on November 8th by 321 votes. And Tony Jurgens, when he got beat by Tom DePel, he endorsed the Democrat. And Tony Jurgens and the Senate Victory Fund and Mike Campbell are the reason we have full Democrat control. And if that wasn't bad enough, they want to add injury to insult and then file an erroneous campaign finance board complaint against us. But these assholes are the ones that caused a full Democrat majority. And that means abortion in all cases. That means transgender surgeries. That means pedophilia is now a recognized sexual orientation. Higher taxes, surplus gun restrictions because of these people who played with fire, and they got us all burned. All right, let's go back to that graphic. So what they do is they file this on April 11th. They held on to this for a year, and my assumption is they're like, well, you know what? Action for Liberty's about to be done, investigated in that one other case that was also fake and erroneous. So let's make sure they're busy for another year, right?
Because it's like they tried to keep looking into us, and then they couldn't find anything better, so they said that's the best we got, and even that's phony. So I think it's I think that's really what's going on. The fact that they waited so long shows how desperate they are to come after us.
Great point, Jesse. Great point. All right, so essentially the CFB then ignores the evidence. So once again, I said they have this terrible hearsay at best, at worst case, just a complete lie by Marissa Manifold. We give the contrary evidence to refute it. The case should be done, right? Guess this is pull up the graphic, Dawson. What the CFB writes. They're planning on investigating us. The staff recommends to the board, which will be decided tomorrow, to investigate us. What's the next? It's the next graphic in line here. There you go. We're gonna have to zoom that in a little bit. So what they actually say to us.
This is part of their draft letter that they sent over.
Yep,
right?
This is the draft letter. They say the board concludes that there has not been sufficient evidence provided to show that there was not an in-kind contribution from Action for Liberty to the DePel Committee. Well, isn't that interesting? So essentially, we have to prove our innocence? How do we prove our innocence when we did nothing wrong?
Yeah.
Like, just imagine, like, the board has not concluded that Jake Duesenberg has not provided evidence he didn't murder Tom DePel. Like, what? What? How about you need evidence to show I murdered somebody, not he hasn't provided evidence to show he didn't? That is not the legal standard in America. So we're being investigated for something we can't even possibly not prove. So really, in the end, what they want is a witch hunt on us. And let's just be honest, they want to silence you and they want to silence me because, quite frankly, they want their monopolies of power over the Republican Party, and maybe they'll get a majority. And then guys like us who would keep them in line and doing the right thing and actually, being conservative will be gone. Well, we're not going to just roll over, obviously. You guys know that. But this is the bullshit scheme that they got against us. Now, I think it's been very beneficial to some people. I think this Matt Warren guy probably has been screwed. He's probably like, I can't believe that this has happened. He probably never has his name mentioned before, but now thousands of people who watch this show are going to know Matt Warren is behind this complaint against us. This is the people you got into bed with. And Marissa Manifold, you're probably young, you've never been involved in this thing. Good luck. You got a path with the establishment. You're a good foot soldier, and you're trying to ruin these good people that we have here, good job. It's not going to work, but now you're going to get your job with the establishment. She's probably working for a lobbying firm right now. Didn't you tell me that she had a...
Yeah, she's currently working for a lot, and you know what? We should mention them by name just for fun. But K-Wall for Life just paid $10 for a Rumble rant. He asks, with friends like the Minnesota Republican Party, who needs enemies?
Isn't K-Wall the
Right.
lady? I thought T-Wall was the man.
T-Wall is the lady.
I got that backwards. I'm very sorry for misgendering you, K-Wall.
And now, this is the part of the show where you ask, where's T-Wall?
William's really getting me off my game today. I don't get it. Oh, man. Where's T-Wall? All right, so
thank you, K-Wall,
yeah,
by the way.
thank you very much.
But let me look up, go into Marissa's LinkedIn here. But I think the bigger target here should be Mike Campbell because he's currently employed by the Senate Victory Fund. He's probably a staffer at the Minnesota Senate.
Do we have a picture of him? Let's pull that up. I think you,
Yeah,
you
this is-
sent me a picture. It says it also works for Cambria. There's Mike Campbell.
Yeah, supposedly this guy's a Republican, and yet he's trying to punish Republicans all over the state.
Yes, and keep this in mind. The timing is important. April 11th is when they filed this complaint, so we had to deal with this in May. Well, what are we doing in May? Like leading this assault on, or leading this charge against this assault on our liberties by the left, by the Democrats. At the end of the legislative session, we should be laser focused. Hey, you guys always talk about unity. These guys are liars. They always talk about unity. Hey, maybe we should all unite against what the Democrats are doing. Nope. They're launching erroneous campaign finance board complaints against us to tie us up legally, tie up our time, expend resources, and probably learn more about our organization, which is, essentially what they want to do is go on a witch hunt and they can learn more about us.
Okay, so Marissa's a legislative coordinator for Marcelli Kramer.
So it sounds like she's a lobbyist now. Exactly.
Right,
That's what these guys
right.
end up. So this law firm that they hired to do this, Jacobson, let's look up the Senate Victory Fund's campaign finance report because this is publicly disclosed.
Really, really quick, William, did you ever read that Rumble rant, or did you just say that there was one?
No, I read it.
Yeah, you
With
read
friends like the Minnesota Republican Party who needs enemies. And then Jake
All
was
of-
like, yeah, agreed.
Hearing Republicans and Democrats, it's all blending together for me.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that there, Dawson.
You want
Pull up the campaign finance board
big document.
report by the Senate Victory Fund. All right, so this is filed. This is actually the most recent one, which includes like what do you call those things? The just amendments. Okay, so they had something wrong. They had to update it. So, but this was due February 1st of this year. Scroll down here. So John Jasinski, the senator, is the treasurer of this, run by at that time probably Jeremy Miller. They brought in last year basically $2.3 million in total receipts. You see that up there in line 5? They brought in $2.3 million in receipts. That's 2. Line 5 is total receipts. All right? So $2.3 million they brought in to elect Senate Republicans. So to take over and be the majority party in the Minnesota Senate. Now, they failed at that. We all know. They lost in the Tony Jurgens or the Tom DePel race and lost by 321 votes. Now, let's go down and look at the law firm that was hired to come against us. Jacobson, Magnuson, Anderson, and Halloran, PC, or Jacobson Group for short. $240,000, 10% of all receipts. Now, what on earth are they paying a law firm $240,000 for to win back the Senate majority?
Right, and also you had pointed out that they gave $200,000 of that the day before the election, right?
That's a great point. Yes. Yeah, and the other reason why that's interesting is there's something called a pre-general report. So before the election, 10 days before election, everyone can see the expenditures before the election. It's the last report we get to see of disclosure before election. So if you do something the day before election, no one knows about it until February 1.
Yep.
So no one knew that they got paid $200,000 until February 1st. What on earth are they paying $200,000 for? Like, I can only imagine they're like, we were using it for vetting candidates or what do they call that? Research on the enemy.
Oppo, yeah.
Oppo research. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oppo research. Like $200,000. Also,
Right.
they're remember how I said they're gathering intel? It looks like they had billable hours on July 19th for $20,060 and $70. It looks like it was just a retainer before that, $2,000 a month. But all of a sudden now they've got this. It looks like itemized expense, right?
Yep.
And so billable hours that was due in July and paid in July. I mean, that's fishy right there, because when you line up the fact that this stuff was being gathered in June of 2022, it seems like they were getting paid. By the way, the Republican Party of Minnesota also paying this law firm. So who's this law firm? Let's pull up this law firm, okay?
If I may, real quick.
You may. Go ahead, William. You may.
T-Wall for Life just gave us a $10 Rumble rant. It's a great show.
Okay, now I'm losing track. K-Wall and T-Wall both gave us $10?
They did.
But is that coming out of the same bank account? Like,
I think that's a little too personal of a question,
okay,
Jake.
okay, maybe they have their own. I don't know. T-Wall, K-Wall. Do I even know T-Wall and K-Wall? Have we ever met T-Wall and K-Wall?
I'll be the one to say thank you again,
Yes,
because I guess we're not doing that anymore otherwise.
I think people donate. They do Rumble rants just to watch us shit on them for doing it. I should just be like, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. But I think if someone gives us $100, I will be like, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. The $10 is kind of like you're being playful, aren't you? You want a little shit, thrown at you. I don't know. Anyhow, I do appreciate it. Thank you, William, for reminding me.
What graphic are you asking for?
Let's pull up the website Jacobson Group. So the firm that gets paid almost $250,000, 10% of revenues. So see this guy, this character over there. He just looks like a scumbag. Reed LeBeau, right there. That's the guy that wrote the complaint, the one a previous year against us. And then below him, Ben, is it Pacito? Yeah, this is the lawyer that was recruited to write this one. Now look who else is at this law firm. I got to go to the bottom here. They got a lobbying wing. Nick Zerwas. Now this happened way before we had our show, but we talked about it back in the day. Nick Zerwas was this rhino Republican legislator from the Northwest Metro. He left the legislature, quit like midterm, and dropped out and violated House rules so that he could be a lobbyist. Because when you're a legislator, you all sign on to House rules that you won't lobby within a year of being a legislator. He dropped out, and is the first one that we know that actually broke the rule right away and just ended up becoming a lobbyist day one. In fact, legislators at the time were joking about it. They were joking about, oh, look, I'll leave out some candy for the new lobbyist here. It's all a joke to these guys. So there you go. Nick Zerwas cashing in on his influence. No, go back to that graphic. Then the last one's the most important one. Rob Eklund. Does that name sound familiar?
Yeah.
Rob Eklund's a Democrat up in Senate District 3, the Iron Range and Boundary Waters, all the way Grand Marais down to Two Harbors. He's the one. Actually, that's a Senate District. He's basically Ely all the way over to Grand Marais.
Yeah, he's 3A.
3A, yep.
Or was 3A.
Was 3A.
Yep.
Past tense was.
Was.
Lost this election. Rob Eklund is the guy that we were door knocking because he reneged on his vote and started protecting Governor Walz's emergency powers in 2021. So they are hiring this scumbag, this con artist, who voted one way when it was election time, and then when we needed his votes to end Governor Walz's illegal lockdowns, he reneged on that vote and did what the Democrat bosses said. And he's got a soft landing at this law firm that the Republican Party and the Senate Victory Fund employs to the tune of $250,000. And I want to throw this at you. This scheme has gone beyond just the Senate Victory Fund. It's also the Republican Party. I think we talked about this last year. We had the Jake Show. We didn't call it Truth Hurts last year, but I think we addressed this. Pull up the Republican Party press release. When there was this other erroneous campaign finance board complaint last year, same thing, all done the same way. Matt Worden, they gather intel. Matt Worden, the complainant, same law firm hired. But this is what they want to do. They want to cause us political pain. I wonder if corrupt David Hand's going to do this again when they find that there's probable cause that could exist with a violation. And they write this press release. Can you zoom in a little bit? And he literally says in his press release, I mean, he's like slamming us.
I think towards the bottom there, that's where you get the Dave Hand quote.
Yeah. Scroll on that bottom one here. Just get rid of me because I can't see it. We welcome the CFB's findings. And
I'll get it. Give me half a second.
okay, I'm gonna give you half a second.
Throwing
Here.
a fit.
There we go. We welcome the CFP's findings and applaud the House Republican Campaign Committee for speaking out against Action for Liberty. Now, this is the Republican Party in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shouldn't you consider us like a huge ally? Right?
Yeah, how
Like,
divisive.
right. But
You know-
you always say, oh, we need unity. Bullshit. You don't want unity. You want to trash the largest conservative grassroots group. Action for Liberty has adopted as its mission to defeat Republicans and disrupt and GOP conventions, parades, and other political activities in an effort to intimidate the public. What the hell are you talking about, David Hand?
Yeah.
First of all, that is 100% not our mission. Our mission is to protect liberty for the next generation. And what parades and conventions are we disrupting? You lying scumbag. Go back to that real quick. And he writes, they are not committed to Republican principles. By the way, we are more than you guys.
Yeah.
And do not believe the primary work of political activities to create governing majorities. Yeah, I don't believe that. That's the one true statement. No, I believe the reason we do political activity is to protect liberty, not just so you can have a damn majority, which you'll just do the same crony things as Democrats.
Yep.
He goes on to read, reject their narrow vision and illegal tactics. This is an important step in holding this group accountable. David Hand, the Republican Party chair, applauds this damn corrupt scheme. So, I don't know what else to say other than this is what you get from these crony Republicans. We always say this kind of stuff, and, we were like, should we do this show, Yeah, well, let's do a show because people have a right to know what these assholes do.
By the way, who was it? Liberty Guy 1 posted this in the comments, but Michael Campbell is he got paid $184,000 in 2023 from the Senate Victory Fund. It looks like he's the highest paid individual with the Senate Victory Fund. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He received the 6th most amount of money from the SVF.
Mm-hmm.
In 2023?
Yeah.
I never even thought to look at this.
Or you know what? This is a total aggregate, I should say.
Yeah. I know. Yes. So fair point. I know last year he got paid $90,000 by the Campaign Finance Board. So you got to be careful on the aggregate. That's actually what our enemies do to us. Is they, look how much they get paid in 5 years. Like that's actually not.
Yeah.
a lot.
No, that's my bad. But
yeah. He got paid $90,000. I mean, there's not much there other than the fact that they're just paying this corrupt guy. He's still employed by the Senate Victory Fund. Or actually, I think he's probably a government employee, isn't he? Doesn't he work for the?
Yeah, I don't know how much we want to say on that versus. But anyway, let me catch up on some.
Well, that was an
comments
interesting thing. I don't know what he's tiptoeing around.
Well, so I heard rumors that there's some senators trying to get him fired over this specifically.
Yeah. I don't see. It looks like he probably only works for the Senate Victory Fund. I see a Marty Campbell, not a Mike Campbell on the Senate staff list. So I don't, because a lot of these guys, they actually are staff members and then they work on the Senate Victory Fund too.
Do we want to catch up on some comments?
Let's
real
go
quick?
catch up on some comments.
All right. So T-Wall for Life says, hopefully we'll meet in person someday. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And that brings up Tucker's comment. We need an Action for Liberty range day so we can all meet. I think it would be fun. Have
Yeah,
little
but
competitions
I'm
with
going to have to
prizes.
vet the people for that range day because some people will crash that and try to shoot me. Although we'll see it coming, Lee Finke. We'll know it's you. Don't worry. You're not going to hide in amongst the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, we'll have the lady shoot over there, and you got Lee Finke. Hey there, I'm one of these ladies. So.
Yeah.
Tucker says the next time
my 357.
the next time
I'm just a good old lady.
the next time Dave Hand gets called out at a convention, those calling him out need to bring receipts. He needs to be embarrassed in front of the whole state. And Dover Dan says Dave is bought like the others.
Yeah, that's 100% it. There's probably money interest involved above these guys too. That well, I know some things.
And
but
David Hand, he's not a tough guy.
No.
I've seen him at these events. He's weak. He's a frail guy who you can see he gets a little bit nervous under pressure. You can see he gets a little disoriented. This guy can't keep himself together. So I think if he were called out in public at a GOP event, I'm sure that would shake him a lot.
Well, the only reason David Hand is the chair of the Republican Party right now is that the Republican Party of Minnesota is so bad of an organization. And when I say organization, I don't mean the good people that work as BPOU. Well, you're a BPOU chair, by the way, William Beck. So, like the people that are on the ground, the people that give their resources, it's the people that really run the show. Although that's changing now because there's some good people that got appointed or voted in the exec council. But it's such a corrupt organization. No one wanted to even challenge him. No one wanted the job. Everyone wanted him out. There was some guy who's a crazy guy that got 33% or something like that against David Hand. Like David Hand, just no one wants that job. It's not a fun job, right? You have to like be the pilot of this ship that's going down. Like no one wants that except for David Hand, which tells you more about David Hand. Because why on earth, when you lost everything, you like literally. Do I have to remind people the damage of the 2022 election? Republicans lost everything. They didn't win a single statewide race, and they lost the House, Senate, and the governorship. You lost everything. If you're that bad, you shouldn't ask for your job back. But he did. And honestly, no one wanted to challenge him. So that's why we're with... if you're a Republican, that's why you're stuck with David Hand for now. The guy could probably get unseated anyhow. And of course, if you're David Hand and you're a good leader, you go to groups like us and you go, you know what? We've been feuding. We got to talk. How can we all work together? Where's that called, David Hand?
Right.
We've had the deputy chair.
And the same thing with the Senate Victory Fund. Let's look at it. Let's be honest about this. Okay, so think about it. What group or individual has gone after Judy Seeberger harder than us since she has been in office? Name one group, name one organization, name anything. We've been the ones that have been in her district door knocking. We've been the ones that have been telling, the constituents what she's been voting for. We've been the ones trying to tell her to moderate. Don't vote for gun control. Don't vote for the child transgender bill. Everything, we've been the ones doing it. The Senate Victory Fund, silent. The GOP, silent. They don't have the means to do it. It's us, the grassroots, that have actually been taking on these battles. The GOP is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, they're so bad they couldn't even get 4 of their senators to bother to show up and vote the day the sanctuary state for genital mutilation bill was going through. You remember that?
Yeah.
Like 4 senators weren't even there and voting until we called out Julia Coleman, and then she voted on the final bill.
Yep.
But Dames, Housley, and
it wasn't Dames. It was
Draheim.
Yeah.
Sorry. Draheim, Housley, and the bad Carla Nelson all were absent, not voting.
Yep.
And in some ways, they're more incentivized to let those things pass, because a lot of them don't really believe what we believe. They're just con artists. You know this, right? Like politicians, they say one thing and they really don't believe it.
Yep.
So what they do is they're like, oh, now the left has gone so bad and they voted this in and it's going to cause more pain. And so now we'll win the next election because that's their incentive. The great con in politics is you want to change something in politics. So you go to your Republican legislator, you go, we got to change this. And they go, you know what? I agree with you. I really don't, but I agree with you. And the Democrats are our real enemy. And so you got to help us beat the Democrats so that we can win the majority and solve that problem for you. That's a great con because guess what they just did? Instead of solving your problem now, they've got you doing their mission. They got you doing that. And then, of course, they get elected and they go, oh, but you know what? Now's not the time. Listen, the people aren't with us. It's polling really bad. Or they say, oh, listen, I'm with you, but there's some members in our caucus and they're just not, they wouldn't
That's
go
a
for
tough
this.
vote for them.
It's a tough vote for them.
Yeah.
You don't want to, in fact, this is the perpetual scheme here, and you wouldn't want them to now have that vote on the record, then we're going to lose the majority. And then lo and behold, you're just like, oh, shit. All they want to do is, as David Hand put, win governing majorities.
Yeah, win
Right?
governing majorities and keep the status quo. That's what they want.
Yeah, so you're damn right, David Hand. We don't share your value of winning governing majorities because winning governing majorities does not solve anything. It just gives you guys power, right? Hires your own people, staff, and stuff like that. We care about liberty. So if you're going to win a governing majority, we're going to be here saying, give us something for it. And the Democrats, when they win their majorities, they expend all of their political energy and get what their base wants. My God, it's just sad to see this. And Florida's a good case. Republicans get the job done, right? DeSantis to his credit, Jesse, I know you don't like hearing anything good about DeSantis, but his credit has gone to the base and delivered something for them. All right? But Republicans in this state don't do that.
Right. A couple more comments.
All right, go ahead.
Let's see. So Brad Ganser says, Han has the position because no one else wanted the job. That's true. Monica says, I love your Chris Finke impression, Jake. Cracks me up.
I mean, listen, I don't know if you've heard Chris Finke, but Chris Finke talks exactly like that. Lee Finke, as they refer to her at the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Lee Finke here. I only shoot a .357 Magnum. I don't have those girly pink guns, you know.
Brad Ganser says, don't we have some help in the Senate to stop this type of BS? And maybe. Maybe.
I see what you did there, William.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
We'll
I don't
see.
know.
Well, what BS? Like, honestly, that's the other beauty of this thing, is once they launch this thing, then it's up to the highly politicized campaign finance board, and they're just going to do what they're going to do. Like you just saw, I just showed you right from their own language. You're guilty until proven innocent. You need to prove your. How do I prove my innocence? What document can I possibly give you to prove my innocence here? Nothing exists.
Well,
That's such an interesting thing. How's that going to end up in? That's what it's going to end up going. It's going to have to go to courts because these guys are crazy.
Right. I mean, if we wanted real justice, like Mike Campbell would be fired and would never have a job in Minnesota politics again. And look, the Senate, like these Republican senators, if they want to show that they're on the side of like unity, they would be making this a priority and doing it right away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and by the way, I don't think it's just Mike Campbell. I mean, there's other people. And Mike Campbell wasn't even the one threatening Tom DePel to drop out of the race.
Right. Oh, all those people who threatened Tom, all these people who have no interest in creating these quote-unquote governing majorities, the people that...
Hey, that reminds me. Let's pull up the picture. I think it's an Action for Liberty article. We show these staffers, Senate Victory Fund staffers, working against Tom DePel in the primary. In fact, one door knocked me. It's on my Ring camera. What's that?
Is it the Tony Jurgens?
Yeah, pull that up. There
Yeah,
you
so
go.
after the election, Jake did a great job of putting this article together, kind of showing all the elements that led up to the very slim loss of not just Tom DePel in his race in the Minnesota Senate, but also the entire Republican Senate majority. So you see here during the primary, you have at least 2 Republican Senate staffers there, and I think there may be 1 or 2 more. I just can't pin them down for sure. But yeah, they're out door knocking for Tony Jurgens, the non-Republican endorsed candidate.
And isn't the girl on the right, isn't that Marissa?
Yep. So if you zoom in a little bit there,
So there you go.
the
So
arrow on the right,
person
the
lying
girl-
about us.
Yeah.
Like she's impartial. She literally, and this is in the primary. So mind you, Tom DePel is the endorsed Republican candidate. They are working against the endorsed Republican candidate, and they get paid by a Republican Party unit.
Right.
Like how? That should be grounds for firing these people.
When
Of
I've
course,
gotten
it's
into
okay.
arguments I got into an argument with Mark Johnson about this at State Central last year, and well, we can't control what they do in their free time.
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
It's all
Whatever.
very under the table.
Yeah,
very
it's all under the
sly.
table.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
It's really just awful. It's slimy, is what it is.
Yeah, I know. Well, Action for Liberty is the one that's doing the slimy work. No, I think you guys are
Yeah.
the ones doing the slimy work.
Right, and it's not just for Tony Jurgens. There were so many establishment candidates that you find these Senate Victory Fund types people at. You know, it's every single endorsement where there's an establishment candidate to get behind, there they are to do it. You know,
Yep.
anytime there's a Liberty challenger or just someone anti-status quo, you know, the establishment, they line up their people ready to be there to, generate some fake support.
And this is exactly why we never get anywhere in politics. And this is why Action for Liberty is who we are, because we exposed this stuff. Do you know anyone else that would do a show like this? I mean, come on. People would never do a show like this, but we're like, no, if you want corruption to stop, you got to start exposing these people that are doing it, right? And the fact it's happening to us means we're powerful, because if we weren't powerful and we didn't have any influence, they would ignore us. They wouldn't care. Why would they waste the time? Why would they pay $240,000 to a law firm? It wouldn't make sense. But because we put so much pressure, you guys, like, here's a great story. Julia Coleman, we exposed, she was on a bill, a really bad bill, like a woke bill. Do you remember what the bill was? It was some
I know,
bill that was just bad. It was like total woke language.
I think it was about nursing mothers, so basically that you have to provide a certain area for them to breastfeed.
But it was not. No, I think it was nursing individuals.
We have
That's right. Yeah, it wasn't even just women in the
How dare you
bill.
call it mothers? There.
Yeah, right.
What
No,
about
it wasn't
the,
even just
what about
mothers
the
and
non-female
women.
mothers?
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, I forgot about that. But yeah, there was all that woke language in there for sure.
So you guys reach out to her because you watched on the show, and Jessie gets an email the next morning, and she's like, "I just want to let you know I've been taken off the bill as an author." It's like, wow, you guys are powerful, right? That's what they can't have. They can't have you guys doing that, Because honestly, I'm just the guy behind the camera or in front of the camera. What am I? In front of the I'm in front of the camera, not behind the camera. What an idiot! You'd think in show business I would know the difference. Wow. Dawson's just like, this is unbelievable. I'm just the guy in front of the camera telling you this stuff. It's really you guys. That's what they want to do. They want to get rid of Action for Liberty. They want to get rid of your voice because a lot of you guys, you got a life to live. You can't be involved in politics all the time. So you donate to a group like Action for Liberty so we can do politics on your behalf, which is freedom of association, freedom of speech, and this is what they're going after. They don't want us speaking. They don't like this stuff. And by the way, the left's far worse at this stuff. So the Republicans are just taking a page out of the left's playbook. That's the sad thing here. Because it should be, the Democrats are all bad. Yeah, we agree. So why are you guys doing the same thing? Why are you guys also being bad?
Right. They do this to try to discredit us, but honestly, almost nobody knows about it when they do these CFP complaints anyway. And the people that do, almost all of them know that it's just BS. The majority of people that are paying attention to this thing, they look at it, they say they know it's BS. They know the MNGOP is after us because we call out the truth. That they don't want that. So it's just so obvious what it is that I don't think the MNGOP realizes it's going to go back to bite them. It's only going to benefit us because it shows that we're the ones who are fighting.
Yep. And this is such a huge topic. I think it'd be fun if we talked about it afterwards more in our Twitter space.
Great plug there. Okay, so we are going. So did you put the link in there?
I'm about to do it right now.
All right.
So if you guys don't know what Twitter spaces are, it's like this conversation opportunity where I'll just post the link here. I don't know how to describe it. It's weird.
It's
But I'm posting it in the live comments.
okay, so it's a
here,
way for us to talk to you. You can join our Twitter. So if you got a Twitter account, or if you don't get a Twitter account, we're testing it out. Twitter right now is pro free speech. Okay, so it is what it is. Jesse and I don't really fully trust Elon Musk in the long term, but all I do know is they're at least better than the other platforms. However, do you know this? Did you guys see this? YouTube now allows election. They call it election denial.
I know. I'm so
Yes,
excited.
you can question
Do
the
they?
results.
Oh, yeah.
I was kind
Oh,
of
I
wondering,
didn't know
Dawson,
that.
how have we not been canceled on YouTube lately? I think they had a soft launch of this, so we have literally not had a strike by YouTube in like months.
I know.
And we haven't toned it down at all. Trust me.
Yep.
We've had Mark Bashowski on this podcast. We have not toned it down.
Yeah, and you know what I'm thinking is, I just forgot what I was thinking.
So, not doing a lot of thinking, are you?
Let me
So
put it.
click on the.
Hold on. What's that,
It's
Dawson?
interesting that the reason that they didn't, or they did a soft announcement of it or whatever, is because if they said we're allowing election, what did you call it, election denial, whatever the heck it was, like
That's what they
everybody
call
would
it.
be like, okay, so we need to talk about this because YouTube's letting it go. So kind of makes sense why they'd be silent about it.
Yeah, well, I remember what I was going to say. They need to remove our previous strikes. If this is the standard now, how can we get in trouble for previous videos where we're saying the exact same thing that they allow now? So
I
think-
completely agree with Jesse. That's YouTube loves retroactively going and like deleting videos with millions of views.
yeah,
And because
for
the
rules that weren't effective then.
yeah, so they should absolutely.
Well,
do that.
it's actually an interesting point. I gotta look it up right now because
all I have are interesting points. Isn't that funny,
Oh, God.
William?
It's so annoying.
Isn't
All right,
that
so it does
funny?
say we have one channel violation. Okay, it says so. It was from the CPAC straw poll. Oh, this is a Political Junkies episode.
The Dawson filter has saved you on YouTube.
So it says that we have. So it says misinformation. So I would imagine since it says CPAC straw poll Trump lead growing, I'm guessing that it was misinformation about the. Oh my God! It expires in 3 days. We are almost going to have 0 strikes on YouTube.
Wow.
We
Nice.
better say something. My God, I feel like we're not doing anything here. Can Dawson, since the time we worked together, we have never not had a strike by YouTube.
I know.
This is so weird. Should we have a celebration?
We
What
can
about the
celebrate on
champagne?
Twitter Spaces, which, by the way, if you click that link
my
and you
goodness.
go there, click Remind Me. There should be like a reminder button. So when we go live at 2:30, you'll get the notification. You can come in and you can throw us a follow too. That'd be a lot of fun. Our handle is action_liberty.
I also want to point out really fast, we haven't tested it or anything.
No,
so
it's a very
gonna
rough
be-
launch.
It's going to be
Yep.
silly.
Yeah.
Dawson's like, I know they're gonna blame me if it doesn't work. No, I won't blame you.
Better not.
I think what we do is we all like go in on our own accounts and then we join the chat room or something
that'd
like
be
that.
fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I haven't done. I haven't done it, but this is what the Sanctimonious did for his launch, right?
And that's
Jesse?
what Tucker said on. He said, "Are you guys gonna break the internet like Ron?" He says Ron Disaster. I think that's a little unfair. Little unfair. Little unfair.
A
Little
lot of people say Ron's a disaster. I don't say it, but a lot of people.
But the biggest thing is this is your opportunity to contribute to the conversation live. Like you can have conversations with us about all this.
well,
stuff,
hold on.
as
So do
opposed
we have to like recognize them, or do they just get to interrupt?
Well, yeah, they can raise their hand and we can recognize.
Okay, you raise your hand, and then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess William.
I'll
clicks
call on you like a
You call. Okay. There
back
you
in elementary
go.
school.
T-Wall
I
and K-Wall.
guess.
Now we can talk like in person.
Yeah, there you
There you
go.
go. All right, so we're gonna test that out 2:30 after this show. Let's get to a couple other things, and then we'll end this show because boy, we went an hour on that CFP. But once again, like I said, you're not gonna hear this anywhere else, right? And it's very intimate to us because we're the ones with the allegations made against us, and it's ridiculous. We refuted the one allegation, and they're gonna investigate. What are you gonna investigate? Like, I can't prove my innocence here. It's so stupid. So, God, these assholes. All right. BlackRock video, Northern Lights train, Tim Walz video. Let's end on the Tim Walz video because we're just gonna clown that video.
Yep.
That's what we're gonna do. So let's do BlackRock video. Let's pull up this article, actionforliberty.com. You can read this too. William just wrote this article. We're digging into, you guys know the DEI and ESG and all this crap that's been pushed on us in Pride Month, pushed on us by these corporations. How are these corporations getting in line? Why is this happening? And we found a great tweet showing the CEO of BlackRock who talked about, well, we need to actually, what did he say? How did he push it on
We need
people?
to force
There you go.
behavior changes. Yeah, if you go to the article,
Wait, hold on. I don't think that I have this one.
it's in the show notes.
Yeah, it's in the show notes. It's row.
I can also make sure it's published online if you want to
Is
just.
it not published online right now?
I don't think
In
so.
show notes, I see 2 versions of surplus money towards Duluth.
Oh, he's right. Yeah, you didn't put the
Oh.
right one on there.
That is my
You know,
bad.
it's not crazy to me to know that it wasn't Dawson's fault. Like, I think if we had a running tally of how many times Dawson screwed up, it's like half, maybe.
If you go to actionforliberty.com, it should be posted there.
Okay.
I just want people to know, I really think Dawson does a great job here. Fair enough.
Well, hold on. I thought we hired him to be the professional scapegoat for
Well,
the
you didn't
show.
hire anyone here, William. Well, although you think you run the show, apparently.
I do run the show.
I guess
Oh, they didn't
so.
tell you yet.
I
Oh,
guess
this is
so.
awkward.
It's been a hijacking today. He all of a sudden took it upon himself.
I just bring the best content.
Just put it in the
supposedly.
show notes, or did you publish it?
Yeah, I published
Oh,
it.
go up
Scroll
to
to news.
news. Takes a second for it to show up on our main page. There you go. You see it right there.
Yeah.
All right, tell us about the story here, William.
Well, so this is actually a video from 2017, but the Twitter account NWokeness, I'm sure you guys have seen them before. They posted this video where the BlackRock CEO, Larry Fink, is chatting about what he believes these companies should be pursuing. Now, BlackRock is an investment firm, so they buy stocks on behalf of their clients, but they have a lot of sway when it comes to what stocks their clients buy. So thus they have a lot of influence over how companies operate.
Very eloquent. It seems like you
Thank
know
you.
a lot about this subject there.
Thank
William.
you. Well, yeah, I learned a lot about it this morning. So if you want to scroll down to the tweet, we can watch the video here.
Oh yeah, I got to put these headsets back on. This is interesting stuff.
Oh, dear.
You now make a point of that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to
Keep it on
change.
me while
This
I'm
is one
struggling
thing
with my
we're
headphones.
asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at
playing?
BlackRock we are forcing behaviors 54%
You guys
of
hear?
the incoming class
Oh,
are
that's
women.
awkward.
We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year. And what we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay?
We're doing the same thing.
And so it's just, you have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken is that we have not seen more opportunities. And we're going to have to force change.
You gotta love it. Just the admission there: forced change, forced behaviors, gender, race, sexual orientation, which, as in Minnesota, we learn is now including pedophilia, or the sexual attachment to children by adults. It's crazy.
Right.
So we gotta force behaviors, and that's one that they really have to force because most people, the vast majority of people, are very much against that. You know, that one snuck through at the end of the legislative session. Go back a couple shows if you don't know about that. If BlackRock, because their institutional holdings a lot of major stocks, if BlackRock was the signal that they weren't going to invest in a company anymore, that would be huge. Like that changes. So even though they don't have direct impact on a corporation, the fact that they manage funds with lots of investors, billions of dollars, you know, in ownership, hundreds of millions of dollars in individual stocks, sometimes in the billions, it's a huge sway. What they say has to be taken very, very seriously. And I don't think, by the way, I don't think it's just BlackRock's influence, although that is very interesting to see. It's also the fact that, you know, these companies, they're hiring youngsters that are getting indoctrinated in colleges with these crazy beliefs. I remember Joe Rogan was talking about the Brett Weinstein problem. So if you go back to like 2017, Brett Weinstein got basically run out of college at Evergreen in Washington. It's a very interesting thing because he refused to stay at home on Black Only Day, which is like crazy. That's how crazy leftists get. And Joe Rogan called it. He's like, you know, people aren't so worried because they're like, oh, college, it's not a big deal. He's like, it's not going to just be college. It's going to come from more people. And it's so clear. It's now taken over corporations. It's like this graphic I had today I was sharing with some people. It's this like pride person, you know, in a rainbow suit. And it's talking to a pastor and he's shouting through a microphone. She's shouting through a microphone. Don't force your views on me. It's like, that's all they do is try to force their views on us. That's the reason, like, a lot of us have a problem right now with Pride, the Pride Month. It's like, I don't have a bone to pick with every gay person, every lesbian out there. What I have a problem with is you can't get over the fact you have to shout it from the rooftops all the time, all right? Live your life, you know, and stop indoctrinating the children. That's what people have a problem with. That's why Bud Light or Budweiser, and that's why who else is getting Target, they're getting this pushback because they're sick of it. We don't want your indoctrination all the time. There's your Rumble rant. Sorry about that, guys. It really pisses me off. And then the left. I love this one. The left's like, oh, you guys are a bunch of snowflakes. You hate seeing the rainbow flag. It's like, no, we don't give a shit about you. We're just sick of you guys forcing this on us. It's a little sad that you guys have to do it. Your ideas are so bad that it's got to be done by force. In fact, that's the thing with BlackRock. They're such bad ideas, they have to be forced. It's the thing about Governor Walz, right? What does a governor do during COVID, right? What do? Do you lock down? Well, everyone thought you should lock down, including DeSantis, right, Jesse? There's a point for you.
Yep.
They think you should lock down, and they don't just say, I think you should stay at home. That's what a governor could do. You should stay at home. They say you can't leave your home, and you could be put in jail for 90 days because they are force. Bad ideas need to be backed by force. Good ideas don't need to be backed by force. Good ideas can exist. These are bad ideas, and that's why they have force behind it. All right, sorry. Good article. Let's skip the train so we can stay on time here. We got to go to – did you have anything else to say on that, William, or did we have any comments?
We have a lot of comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go to the comments.
Or we could finish up and then tell everyone to go over to the Twitter space.
No. Let's hear some comments,
Okay,
and then
right.
we'll do the Walls thing, and then we got to finish up so we can stay on time here.
All right, so Bad Hat Harry says BlackRock's Larry Fink built the first database to push investments back in the 70s and 80s and created the junk bond mess. Monica says, F BlackRock, that stuff. I will never accept any of it.
You know, it's not just BlackRock, by the way. We were looking up major holdings and Vanguard. Like Vanguard manages.
That's what
tons of
Liberty
people's
Guy
retirement.
says too.
Yeah, Vanguard's massive, right? And you go below that, I mean, you still get other major fund companies, right? So you invest in any fund company, and if they have a big stake, you know, you got to look at the direction of their corporate governance. And if they're pushing these kind of views on it, it is a serious issue. It's not that they actually own it. BlackRock doesn't physically own or directly own it. They indirectly own it because they manage the funds that other investors do. And by the way, their investors aren't all on board with this stuff, but they're detached. People just want to put their money in a retirement account and go on living their lives, hang with family and friends. It's these woke mind viruses that are masquerading as, you know, investors or corporate officers that are screwing this over.
Right.
Go ahead.
So
Sorry.
true. K-Wall for Life says Fink is Bernie Madoff on financial steroids. Not good. Nonprofit says jitflyers.com. GTVflyers.com. I think this is a reference that's going over my head.
Yeah, why would you read that if you have no idea what he might
Oh,
have just
geez,
sent
did I
you
say
to-
something wrong?
We just might send you to a porn site there. You might have just read a porn site there, or like a gambling site or something.
So you don't know what it is
Okay,
either.
apparently William's just gonna read random domains on someone that's
Well,
called
no, because-
nonprofit. That's what their name was.
Well, it's not Prophet spelled like the Prophet Muhammad or something. Because I read comments from new people, and I haven't seen a comment from this guy.
I know,
before,
but it
so-
was a. Oh man, our barrier on this one, barrier to entry on this.
Well,
one's
don't go to
crazy.
the website then. How about that?
Yeah, we gotta be careful. You know.
All right,
It could be like DavidOsmek.com. You know, it just takes you to a porn site.
Well, hey, Liberty Guy 1 gave us a $20 Rumble rant and said, keep following the dollars, guys.
Thank you very much, Liberty One. I appreciate that very much, which is equivalent of the walls, the T and K wall, which was
Right.
$20 as well when you combine it. What's that?
It's that same freaking dude who's posting the.
Did he really it's like a troll?
Well, he's circumventing Rumble TOS, getting muted, and then just making another account.
This is the profit guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. See? We need Bridget back, don't we, Jesse? Look at this. Now, William's got great commentary, great writer, but when it comes to handling these comments, my God, we need Bridget.
You know,
we need
it's-
the professional back. Bridget would never have read that. She would have been like, "Oh, this is not
She totally would have. Are you kidding me? So I guess this. Did you go to the website? What was
No,
it?
don't go to the
Yeah.
website. You're
No,
gonna get like a
I-
I, know,
virus.
I was
Oh,
about
God.
to look it up too.
No, I looked
All right,
it up.
what?
I
Okay,
looked
will
it
you
up.
do it? Can you do it? You gotta.
yeah,
Jake,
I forgot what it was.
I did
though,
look it up.
so-
It was the anti-Semitic flyer website or whatever that I told you about.
Oh,
last time.
oh, even worse, like anti-Semitic propaganda.
It's like
God, I almost would have opted for like a scam site or a porn site. Jeez.
me too.
Oh man.
All right. Anyway.
You just. I mean, you're basically as guilty as Kanye now, William, for reading that online.
Hey, you know what?
You basically
Kanye,
endorsed it.
I do endorse Kanye. Kanye 24. Yay 24. I'm all for it. But K-Wall for Life has a great comment. Keep the train on the track. So let's keep the train on the track. here.
Wow,
Let's
great
move on.
comment. So now instead of doing the Tim Walz video, we just have to talk about the Northern Expressway or Northern Lights. We can do both. All right. Pull up the Northern Lights train. This is an interesting article that William wrote. I don't know if you guys know this. I mean, of course you know this because you read 1,000 pages of the omnibus bill that was voted in at the last final hours of the legislative session, right? Where we are sending $195 million with an M, to build a train to Duluth. Look at this. You got a picture of this map or the route, don't you? Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
This is what they're going to do. It's going to go up through Coon Rapids and go to Cambridge, up to Hinckley, and then from Hinckley goes up to Superior, and then final destination is Duluth. There is no current train that does this. There are BNSF tracks that. So this is the other interesting thing we learned, right, William, is that BNSF, one of the highest valued, the highest producing revenue train tracks are this one, right? That they're apparently putting this passenger train on, right? Did I say that right? So like
Yeah,
they're
I
probably
think so.
shipping a lot of, natural. They're probably shipping it down to the cities to put it on barges. I would guess. I'd imagine that's what's going on.
Yep.
So now they're going to share this with a passenger train, and this thing's going to how much is this thing going to cost?
Well, so they estimate it's going to cost $600 million. But the way it works is that the state government is supposed to put forward 20% of the cost, and then the federal government will pick up 80% of the cost because it's going to be an Amtrak train. But the legislature put forth $200 million, which if the federal government matched that with their 80%, it would be a total of $1 billion, which very well could be $1 billion because you know how over budget these projects tend to go.
I think we're lucky if it ends up only being $1 billion. Right?
No kidding. And what are we actually doing here? They estimate it's going to be like 700,000 passengers a year. I don't see it being that high.
Yeah, I have no basis for that. But
Right,
all
right.
I'm going to say is there's an intrigue. So when I first heard about this many years ago, there's intrigue by me to go up to Duluth with like my frame pack and then just walk on the SHT. Here's the issue with it. This train will so if you drive to Duluth from Minneapolis, okay, that is a 155-mile trip going up I-35. If you're getting 25 miles to the gallon at $3.50 per gallon, that's a $22 trip in most vehicles. Okay, 25 miles per gallon is the average vehicle. My truck, my F-150, gets 21 miles to gallon in the summer, so I'm just it's going to be slightly more costly for me. So $22. The train ticket's going to cost $30 to $35. Okay, so it's already more costly to go up on the train. That's a one route too, by the way. Oh, I guess we didn't do a round trip. So 150 miles up there. So it's roughly so you got to do a round trip because you got to come back down. So we're already looking at probably about $16 to $20 more expensive to do the train. We're like, well, it's a high-speed train, so at least I'm going to save time. Nope. That's what I thought. It's going to take 2.5 hours by train, and that's what they estimate. And I would imagine because they're moving other goods on this train, it's not going to be that fast. It's 15 minutes faster, assuming there's no traffic, to drive by vehicle. And when you calculate that, you calculated going probably 70 miles an hour, not the 78 miles an hour that all of us do when we're going up I-35.
Mm-hmm.
So you get there faster in Duluth for less money using your vehicle. And here's the big problem. You get that train, you go to train and you go to, I'm assuming, downtown Duluth. Well, then what? Like, Duluth's a great city, and North Shore is, I love the North Shore. You're not going to walk to, like, the North Shore. You're not, what are you going to do?
You need a car.
You need a car.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So who's going to take this train? 700,000 people. I might take this train one time because I'm just kind of curious. Of course, probably not bring my family because, like, the light rail would probably be full of violence and crime.
Well, and that's new 2727 made a great point. All the train's going to do is bring more crime to Duluth. It's the same fear with, like, the light rail exporting crime to the suburbs.
So this great idea, which is going to cost $855 the first year if you don't amortize it over a 10-year period, it's going to cost basically per rider $855 per rider. It'll never make money, right? It's all government subsidized for solving no problem. It's clearly just going to. I mean, maybe there's some people that get on from Cambridge to go work downtown Minneapolis, so it helps with that congestion. But if it was just really for work related, you're not going to Duluth. So this is the great idea by Tim Walz. You want to know another great idea by Tim Walz? This video, and we're going to end the show on this here. If we don't read your comments, join us on the Twitter chat. This is a video that was released. It's being criticized right now in the media because Tim Walz put together a video of his historic signing, the Democrats' first time in a complete government trifecta. Not first time. First time in a decade. Thanks to Tony Jurgens, thanks to Senate Victory Fund, these guys that lost the Senate for us. So let's watch Tim Walz's video of his historic signing. This is interesting.
Morning, 2.5 million people showed up last November and cast votes. They made a choice. They chose hope over fear. They chose inclusion over exclusion.
Look at how his wife
They
claps
chose
here.
personal freedoms
And
over
what you're seeing is
I just love that.
the governor,
the seal
lieutenant
clap.
governor, the governor's wife, and Senate Majority Leader
They chose
Dietzich.
action over gridlock.
This is kind of creepy. It looks like state-sponsored propaganda here.
It is. Oh, is this paid by? No, I think this was paid by the DFL. So this is not your tax money. All this looks like is a dude that's like, I really like flying a drone. Like there's no, like Dawson, can you imagine the production level here? Like this is ridiculous. It looks like a kid that's like, oh, it's so much fun flying a drone.
It's a guy with a drone.
Yeah, it's a guy with a drone. He can't even stop. They don't even insert other images here, or other video angles.
Minnesota today
That's a good angle there.
our values, and we are delivering on those promises. Minnesotans told us they were tired of gridlock and inaction, and they wanted leaders.
Oh, they didn't ask for this crap, Dietzich.
No, like 3/4 of the stuff they didn't campaign on whatsoever.
Right.
Recognize that those before us have invested
If anything, they're
so much
breaking
into great
campaign promises.
Oh, big time. Yeah, like ending Social Security tax and
Gas tax.
gas tax.
to make sure
Not a lot
that
of
it
people
is
there.
strong for the generations that
It
will
just,
follow.
this
We
is a
already saw
kid
the
that wants to
shot.
fly a drone.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, this is, look, even this, they don't stop. Like, you should pause on that signing. They're like, oh, this is a kid in high school that's like, oh my God, they're going to let me fly this thing around the Capitol.
Well, no, they paid this dude. Apparently, this guy does these videos and he makes money off of them.
Political capital for the next election. It's about
Are there any rules about flying these things around the Capitol? Like, did they get special?
Apparently they got special permission to do it.
the DFL did, or
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure
don't- I don't
Walls,
care.
yeah. I
they
think it was
expedited the
Walls.
process for this.
I'm sure they did, yeah. Oh, one Minnesota. Yeah, we're all one
Yeah,
Minnesota.
right.
Oh my God, yes, we're all getting along. You know, by the way, the DFL just, the Minneapolis DFL chair just tweeted about how great it was that Ronald Reagan died. You know, the DFL scrambling like, oh my God, we got to tone down this rhetoric. They're not one Minnesota. They don't believe it. Listen, the communists, the socialists, that's what these guys are. They're socialists. They don't believe in one Minnesota. They believe in the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. That's what they care about classes. That's their whole game. It's class. They don't believe in one Minnesota. Stop saying that, Tim Walz. You believed in the essential and non-essential workers, not one Minnesota. Stop that stupid lie. God, these guys are terrible. And thanks to the Senate Victory Fund for getting these guys elected. That's the show today. All right. So you got the comment in the Rumble
Yep,
thread.
I'm gonna post it one more time,
Facebook,
guys.
YouTube.
Go over there, follow us, and join the space because we're gonna be talking more about this stuff. We'll be taking your questions. Should be a good time, I think. It's gonna be like, this is a casual layout, but I think this is gonna be even more casual somehow.
I have no idea how this is going to go.
Well, that's the fun part. Yeah,
we'll
this is
try it
our
out.
inaugural Twitter space.
Yes. All right. And if it gets screwed up, blame Dawson.
Definitely do that. That is the best thing to do.
All right.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you on Thursday. Take care.